All right, Irving, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, all right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for everybody who's here. We have a really good crowd. Well, my name is Marco Palacios. I'm run the Pacific Hackers meetup. And also we have, in case you didn't know, well, first of all, is this your first time in the meetup? I know I have seen new people, so great. We have a bunch of new people. So let me tell you a little bit of what Pacific Hackers Association is and how we're helping people. So again, my name is Marco Palacios. I'm the vice president of Pacific Hackers. What we are trying to do with Pacific Hackers Association is, well, first of all, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are trying to help, get people into the cybersecurity field, and while we're helping everyone, we are focusing on veterans and underrepresented communities. And there's several things that we're trying to fix. We're trying to fix diversity in the field. We're trying to fix the education system, because we know once you go through a 4-year or 2-year university with a cybersecurity program, sometimes it's not like the best, and basically you're not ready to go into the workforce. So what we're trying to do is basically teach you the right stuff, so basically you're ready to go into the workforce, right? And also the HR system. We're trying to fix the HR system by, connect you directly to the hiring managers. At times, hiring managers come to our meetings and they get people from here. It happened to me. This happened back in 2018 when I was a member just like you, and my manager was there, and I finished a presentation, and basically that was my interview, because 6 days later I was hired. So I want the same for you, and keep coming, keep networking. If someone, I know lately there's been a lot of layoffs, so if someone's hiring, please, announce it. If you're looking, if you got affected by the layoffs, please, ensure that you also do the same, because we want to help you. Okay, so we have a lot of, we have a Slack channel, not a Slack, Discord channel, where we have a job board channel, and yeah, constantly people are putting they're offering jobs. So I'm gonna send an invitation once at the end. And then obviously the meetup. Well, you're here. Many of you already know the meetup by meetup.com. Some of them by LinkedIn. Wherever you hear from. Well, thank you for your support. But yeah, we are in meetup.com /Pacific Hackers. We meet here at Hackers Dojo every month. And yeah, today's meetup, where it's going to be a planning meetup, but also it's going to be a presentation on SDR hacking. We also have a conference. So if you miss us, we had a conference back in November. It was here, and it was awesome. We had a really good turnout, especially after COVID. After COVID, many people, decided to stay. Even though things were opening, people decided to continue to stay at home and be safe, and that's completely understandable. But there were others who were eager to get out and learn and network and everything. So yeah, we're doing this every year. Hopefully again in November. Hopefully it's gonna be here, and yeah, so we can wait for that. While that's happening, there's a lot of things that's going to happen during the year. RSA is next. I'm going to mention eventually for RSA. We're looking for volunteers to speak in our Dark Arts Village. And so once we get there, I'm going to announce it, give you more description of what's going on. But yeah. And if you missed last week's event, this was our first event of the year. And as you can see, it was crowded. And that's what we want for our meetups, to be crowded. And we also want talks, and that's why you're here, because you're supporting. But again, we want also your friends. So if you have friends who are interested in cybersecurity, please reach out. And, these were some of our previous sponsors. We thank them for their support, but, we also continue needing your help. There's many ways you can help us. Money sometimes is not just the only way you can help us. You can also help us by spreading the word. Like I said, invite your friends, if you know someone is interested in cybersecurity, please send it our way. Referrals, again, jobs. If you know someone's hiring and you know the hiring manager, please let them know that who we are, so we can start making those connections. Share the knowledge. If you have a presentation, even though this is your first time and you don't know if this is appropriate or not, come, let us know, and we'll let you know. But at this point, we're open. We are the only place where we can let you speak. And believe me, many people who have gone through the meetups or the conference that has spoken at these meetups or conference, now they're speaking at RSA, now they're speaking at DEF CON. So this is, again, a way for you to get that experience in being in front of people. And again, sponsoring. If your company would like to sponsor, please send it our way. We'll be more than happy to have them. And with that, let me. So I mentioned earlier, for the people here, as we're coming in through the parking lot, you see a bunch of people with antennas and cables, and you were like, what's going on? Is this the new Pacific Hackers thing? Yeah. Well, I wish, but no. So I find out this is the ham radio meetup, and they have a meetup every month, I think, and this is the second time here at Hackers Dojo. So I'm gonna have one of their members talk about what this is meetup about, how you get in, anything about the meetup. I'm gonna have him talk about it. So please come and join us and tell us about your meetup. Is there a website?
Think so.
No? Okay.
No.
If you want to come here, so you can.
Marco, we can't see the screen on Zoom.
/G/.
Okay, give me a second. You cannot see the screen?
No, all we see is white.
Okay, give me a second. We can fix that. Can you see it now?
No, it's just all white.
It's all white.
Yep.
Do you see the meetup page?
Nope, nothing.
Ah, interesting. Okay. I'm gonna try again. Give me a second.
Okay, all good now.
Good now? All right. Well, you missed the other presentation, so sorry. We had a full presentation. Anyways, sorry, go ahead. What was the address?
Groups. Actually, try this. Search for QSV, Quebec Sierra Victor, space Hacker Dojo, because I do think there's a meetup page for us.
Do you see it?
How about a tweet by Bo? Yeah, that's close enough. That's
Okay.
Close enough. So he's announcing a lunch in Mountain View. That's what we used to do.
Okay. Well, how about here, because here's the camera. So
Is there a microphone I have to talk into?
just just the computer. So
Okay. So sometime during the COVID era, I created a twice a month lunch for hams who hack. So the idea is the intersection between ham radio culture and hacker maker STEM culture. And it's been really successful. We've been meeting in downtown Mountain View. There's a Turkish restaurant with standard American foods that poses as a German beer hall, and it has a Greek name, Olympus. And it's right by the old Caltrain terminal on Castro at Evelyn. And they've got outdoor picnic tables, which is great because people can come and go as they want. You go inside, you order your own food, and no one has to split bills and all that hassle. And it's turned out to be really good. And today we're celebrating Winter Field Day. I'm going to take the story back to around 1900 and a little after, when people were first experimenting with radio. First, they managed to get an electrical signal from one side of a river to another by putting two wires inside the river. And eventually started getting it going further and further. And it started to look hopeless, though, that you'd ever be able to get a radio signal out to a ship as it comes into harbor to give them instructions and find out what kind of a dock they need for whatever they're carrying. I mean, that was going to be the killer application. But we just couldn't get the signals far enough. Well, eventually they did. And eventually Marconi got it from Ireland to Nova Scotia and went across the Pacific Ocean. And as we got into the 1900s, this was completely unregulated, and who you would hear on the air if you decided to listen or had equipment to it. You might hear some military people experimenting. You might hear some academics experimenting, but mostly you would hear what I would call hackers. People who just had their own kit, built their own stuff, put up their own antennas, and used it for whatever they wanted, but mostly just chit-chatting with their friends. As radio became more and more commercially viable and militarily interesting, the government had to do something about all these hackers that were on the air, because they couldn't do their business. They couldn't have a commercial broadcast without people coming in. And so they said, we'll make you members of an organization. You'll be amateur radio operators. We'll give you a call sign. We'll give you a license. We'll give you all these frequencies. Just stay off of ours. And that was the deal. So the hackers actually got incredible amounts of spectrum. Ham radio is a fantastic thing to get a license for, because we've got everything from gigahertz all the way down into long wave. There's some allocations, and you're expected to experiment with it and do new stuff. And that was also a whole bunch of rules, but that just makes sure that we can keep it, that commercial people don't come in, or people who are bad actors can't use our frequencies and spoil it for everyone. It's kind of the point of the rules. If you're in Thailand, your big annual holiday of the year is Songkran. If you're Chinese, it's the Chinese New Year we're celebrating now. If you're in the United States, it's Christmas. If you're a ham radio operator, it's Field Day. Field Day is the last weekend in June. And the idea is to go outside, act as if you're in an emergency situation and having to operate. And to make it fun, it's also a contest where you record how many contacts you make on different bands with different people. And you turn that in and they give out awards. But the bunch of people in a colder state said, June is too easy. What if you had to operate in the middle of the winter from one of our mountainous cold states? Let's have a Winter Field Day. And that's what this weekend is Winter Field Day. And we've got it pretty easy out here. But problem is, we don't have a whole lot of leadership to tell us what to do. We're just a bunch of friends who've been meeting at picnic tables and chatting. And so we kind of had to figure out how many antennas, how many stations, who's going to be working on what bands, what category do we operate under. We're a 3 Oscar. We can have 3 transmitters at once, and we're outside. The letter O is for outside. There's also home categories, indoor categories, and mobile categories, like you can operate from your car in this contest. So y'all are invited to come out. We've got some snacks. We got people to ask questions. You can sit down and even operate and make contacts and make scores for us, because we have a licensed person out there to supervise. Hey.
Hi, I'm just curious, like, how do you guys do competitions or like CTF-ish things ever? And then also do you do like, conferences? Are you at RFA?
A lot of it is gamified, and there's a couple different ways you can go with. Actually, there's many ways you can go with all of this. But some classic ones are the DXers. DX stands for long distance. They're trying to get as many contacts as they can in as many different countries or regions or islands in the South Pacific with nothing but rocks and penguins on them. And they go on DXpeditions where they spend often close to $1 million for the whole thing to get a whole bunch of people to be able to boat or helicopter or whatever, a bunch of equipment onto an island and operate for a week. And people want these contacts. So that's one example. And then there's more standard contesting, which I can do from my home or I can do from out here. I don't have to travel to a bizarre place or try to talk to them. And contests are going on every weekend in lots of countries and lots of states. How else does it get gamified? I don't know. And a lot of it is social. Like, it's been a fantastic COVID hobby to have to talk to people, you know, who are not your roommate. Yeah, Hannes.
Just a comment. So to be a ham radio operator, you need a license, right? You need to do a test. But there's nothing preventing you from listening. As long as you don't speak on the air, you're fine. So I'm not licensed, but I hang out with the community by just listening. And it's sort of like social media, I guess, from a long time ago, right? It was the first social media. So
It was, yeah.
morning, I mean, you can talk more about TalkNet, how that works, but you know, if you're in ham radio outside like me, you don't even know this exists, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
hacker aspects. We meet up at times. We like to talk technical things. Antennas are always a good topic. Strange rituals. We've got strange rituals. You know, we speak in a strange babble of Q codes, and for like our entire name, QSV. That's the Q code. It means, shall I send a bunch of the letter V in Morse code as a test? Da-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. If you're really having a hard time getting any signal through, that might be one way to do it, because you could hear the V's if you were in the right place. That's what our whole name means, and it's a test signal. It means we're experimenting. Yeah, to get a license, it's basically like the written part of a driver's license. 9-year-olds can do it, but they do look over the questions once. You know, the questions are all published, and there's guides to do this. So anyone can do it if you want to. No longer is a Morse code required. And let me mention 2 huge branches of ham radio is the upper frequencies like VHF and UHF. And that's where a little handheld will do. Like we've got handhelds out here. There's a repeater behind Stanford that we're often chatting with people on. And then the other is HF, high frequency, which the layperson knows as short wave. These are the ones that go around the world, and you need a bigger radio. You're not going to carry it in your hand because you need a bigger antenna. And so a lot of hams are only interested in chatting with their friends on handhelds and do the VHF route with repeaters locally. A lot of hams do I want to talk to as many people around the world as I can and put up a big antenna in the backyard and get a 100-watt rig or more. Yeah. Yes. From my car, I can do both of these modes from my car. I've got a little antenna that does the VHF, UHF, and if I'm traveling around the United States or Canada, I can talk to people in each community on their local repeaters. On my trunk, I've got what's called a ham stick, and I've made contacts with Australia and New Zealand with that. But more often, if I'm on a long trip, I'll be using that on 20 meters or 40 meters and talking to people within a few states or maybe across the nation.
any other questions?
I'm just kind of curious, how, like, is there concern for bad actors or like, you know?
There are bad actors. It was a funny thing. About 2 years ago, the FCC issued a very strange little letter to amateur radio operators to remind us that we're not allowed to use our radios for illegal activities. I don't know what they were talking about. I don't know what they were thinking. But other bad actors are jammers, people who are, ASBOs, antisocial behavior, just want to get on the radio and offend people and break up friends who are trying to chat.
Is that like a negligible amount or what?
It depends on where you are. Around here, it's somewhere between negligible and ignorable, but occasionally it's blatant and annoying. And we try to track them down and report them to the FCC. So we get to use our technical skills again.
That was my next question. Can you find people who are?
Yeah, you can build directional antennas. And y'all are going to talk about software-defined radio. Every radio we have out there is software-defined. Depending on how good it is, it may have more or less filtering and amplification before it, but eventually, none of these are old enough that they're pure analog all the way through. And at home, I've got a Kiwi SDR. It's about a $300 thing. It's got a BeagleBone single board computer, and it's got a big FPGA. And there's two inputs to it, one from my HF, my big antenna in the backyard, and one from GPS. And that FPGA decodes for up to 8 people on the internet who want to listen with my antenna what's going on in the Bay Area. Some listen to AM radio sports, some listen to amateurs chatting, but people around the world are using my equipment, and that FPGA has enough regions in it to decode what each of those persons wants to hear, and often give them a waterfall of a view of neighboring frequencies and things. And stuff like this is, really game changing. And if there's enough of these around and there's a signal that's in the bands that they monitor, they can do a timed time of arrival triangulation to figure out where the jammer is, where the signal's coming from. As hackers, you should know, the same technologies that would help us find the location of a jammer could be used to create artificial transmissions that frame someone as being the jammer. We can also create these signals as much as we could detect them, theoretically.
So they can be punished like right away.
That's right. That's right.
So what is the plan of how often you're gonna be meeting? You said this is the second time on Hacker for you. Are you planning to do it every month, every month? What is the plan?
We don't really know. Here's one thought, and I always put this out, and I'm going to miss the one in February, but first Sunday, we want to make a QSV meetup at Hacker Dojo. And the idea of having a physical space where we can keep radios, we're allowed to put antennas on the roof here. A lot of people are not. I think this is a great resource that a lot of ham clubs don't have as a physical space to hang out and meet. And if that becomes too popular, we'll have to do it more than once a month. We don't know where we're going, because this was just sit at the picnic tables and have lunch club. So it's cool that you get smart people together, and I don't have to, make decisions or anything. Everybody makes suggestions and people just do it. So that's how hackers are, and I like that.
Question?
All right, come out and chat with any of us and ask questions.
Thank you. We got food outside and inside, so.
Yeah, Irvin, why aren't you here with us?
What language is it?
Oh, okay.
I do most of
Okay, all right, well, it is my pleasure to have our first presenter of the year with me, and again, congratulations on your new gig. So pretty much Alevsky from many other talks that he presented, and today he's just getting introduction into, well, he's getting into the SDR and radio stuff, and where everything actually started at DEF CON when Max, Rod, Levsky, and others, we won first place at one of the CTFs, and he received a, what was it, an
It was a bundle with different like
Yeah,
gadgets.
Gotcha. And he got interested in radio hacking and stuff like that. So now he learned so much that he wants to give a presentation. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Alevsky and his. Woo!
Thank you, Marco. So yeah, you say like this talk is gonna be about like I decided to call it electromagnetic hacking because as most of I start learning more, everything reduced to the electromagnetic waves and things like that. And it's gonna be an introduction of how to start with software-defined radio. Mostly it's based on all my notes, all the things that I learned during after DEF CON. So yeah, a little bit about me. You already know me. I'm a security software engineer. I also like to contribute to a couple of open source projects. I have been working in startups and recently in corporations, things like that. I like cybersecurity. This is the agenda. So I'm going to talk about how everything started. Then a little bit history about like electromagnetic warfare, because this is very related. Like literally all these technologies were developed because of the military and the wars and things like that. We're going to learn about the basic radio concepts. Then the introduction, what is what we need, basic concepts, important concepts. Then I'm gonna show you and talk a little bit more about the very popular like radio hacking gadgets like the HackerRef and the Flipper Zero. And then some communities that you can join and you can learn more about the topic if you are interested in this. So as always, a disclaimer is all of this is because of with learning purpose. I'm not encouraging anybody of committing crimes or do bad stuff. Everything about is learning, and all these examples were performed like in my own devices, in my own, like in control environments that doesn't harm anybody. So yeah, how everything started, right? As Marco was saying, last year I had the chance to attend DEF CON for the first time. It was super cool. I recommend everybody, if nobody has gone to DEF CON before, you have to do it. You will learn a lot, you will do a lot of networking and met awesome people. And one of the coolest things is that in DEF CON there is CTF, right? There is gonna be some other talks about CTF, but what I can tell you is that it's a great opportunity for you to learn. And even if you don't have any experience, you can just join a team. You can, that is what happens to me. I met people right there. I just joined the team and I start having fun, right? So I participate with members of this. Max is here with Marco and Rod into a CTF called Red Alert ICS, right? Which is Industrial Control Systems, CTF. So it was pretty cool. There was like a scenario like this in the picture in which the main topic of the CTF was about hacking these systems that basically manage very important matters of the city, like electrical power, like gas systems, like things like that. And it was very cool because you were performing the hacks on real systems, right? But what I realized very quickly is that my background is mostly like in software engineering, networking, things like that. And there was some topics that were related like to hardware that I don't have any experience at all. So I didn't know what was like hertz or volts or watts or things like that. So obviously I cannot participate on those ones. But I played ECTF for the whole week and I start like catching some concepts. And eventually we won the event, this CTF. This is a picture of the team. It was Pacific Hackers and Hack Miami. And we got a coin. That year they were giving, like, instead of black budget, they were giving coins. And this is a picture, right, of how we won this particular CTF, right? As Marco was saying, they give you as part of the price like a bundle. It was a box that has like multiple raspberries. It comes with a 10C microchip or micro device, and it comes with the HackerRef, which was basically how I got into software-defined radio. And before that, I got the hardware, right? But I didn't know what was it, how I use it, things like that. So I started in the basics, right? Why do I want to learn radio hacking, right? Or if I can track like from which start point like people start doing this, then I realized it was there has been radio hacking has been present since almost the beginning of the like in the 1900s. So I started putting together this brief history of electronic warfare, right, or radio hacking. So some interesting facts is that they start like kind of researching particular ideas of the radio waves or how can I abuse them. Like, for example, they start, there is a very interesting topic called signals intelligence. I'm going to talk a little bit more that, but in 1904, there was like the bit of signals intelligence, right? Like, and you're going to see like war a lot, right? So they start kind of using this technology like to leverage advantages during the conflicts. Then also they start developing like more like radar technology to see what their own eyes cannot see. You can detect with radio waves, things like that. Then they also start developing like jammers. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about jammers and what are those, but they become very popular during the Cold War. Then we also have deceptive drones. Then also they took the electronic warfare to the sea. They put basically radars and radios into the ships, and then they start sending messages from the sea. Then they start understanding more about like how the particular shapes of objects affect like the radio waves, and then they start developing these kind of planes that can basically they deflect like radio waves and things like that. Also, GPS is also a very close topic to this one. But as you can see, like radio and radio hacking in particular has been present since the beginning. Even before like digital computers, like radio and electromagnetism has been present, right? So with that, I put together in my notes like some basic radio concepts that help me to understand more. And everything started of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? When I realized it was kind of mind-blowing because I realized that, for example, what we can see is just a tiny fraction of the spectrum, which is in the middle. This talk is gonna focus on all the waves that are on the left side, which is everything that is on the left pretty much is safe for humans, right? Safe. Everything that is on the right, we know that it's dangerous, like radiation, like X-ray, like ultraviolet light. But most of the technology or the signals that our devices use to communicate are in the left side. And then we are going to call that the radio wave spectrum, right? And there is, when all these technologies start to getting popular, people need to come into an agreement to say like, yeah, we're going to transmit from this frequency to this other frequency, right? So the more you learn about this, you start learning how they divide them between very low frequencies, medium frequency, high frequency, and so on. So every one of these one is used to transmit a particular type of message, as I understand, or use it for a particular use. So yeah, like this talk is gonna focus on things that happen in particular in the radio wave spectrum, and we're gonna learn a little bit more of that, right? Sure, you have heard about you have heard in the past about, like, for example, 2.5 gigahertz, right? Which is like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and things like that. So we're gonna learn what does that actually mean. Talking a little bit more about like the offensive part of the radio hacking, there is two main types of attacks, which is replay attacks and jamming. The replay attack is very easy, right? It's as the image is showing is somebody transmit a signal in the air, and some other capture it, and then you can retransmit it. And this abuse a vulnerability in whoever is receiving the signal that cannot recognize like who is the source, because as I understand, like in radio waves, it's very difficult to identify like who is the source. Like you can measure like energy and things like that, but or they were mentioning before, like you can develop like directional antennas, but if you don't have that, you don't know who is actually transmitting the signal, and somebody very easily can replay a signal, right? The other one is jamming attacks, which is basically a very cool analogy. Is like if I'm talking about this, if I giving this talk with this level of voice, and somebody start like yelling in the other room, it's gonna be more difficult for you to understand me, right? That's a jamming attack. Like basically someone has another antenna and is transmitting with more power than the original one, and that is going to basically affect my capacity to communicate. And with that, once I went into that kind of theory, then I already had the hacker ref, but I didn't know like where to start, like how to start using it, things like that. So I have to research or learn about like how to start with that. And then everything, I can divide this in 3 steps that you need to learn, which is first you need to have a SDR receiver, which is the actual, this piece of hardware. Then you need to get an antenna. And then you need the SDR software, right? With these 3 components, you can start receiving and transmitting signals, right? I'm gonna disclaimer here, like if you are not licensed, if you don't have a license, you are not supposed to transmit, so please don't do it. Like you can only receive and there's not gonna be any trouble. You're not gonna get in trouble, but only you get the license, you cannot transmit. So remember, the 3 most important things are the receiver, the antennas, and the actual software, right? So with these components, this is going to limit what you can do or you cannot do. So for example, if you get like a very cheap hardware, then most probably you're gonna your signals are not going to get very far. So there is a lot of like Chinese clones like in the internet. So you need to be careful, like to only get like the actual hardware from the right sources. So for example, if you can start this model here, the RTL SDR it costs around $30 and is a very good like piece of hardware to start playing with it. It has like a USB connector. You can connect it to your USB to your computer, and you can start playing right away, right? And there is a bunch of others like different variations, but the one that I got was the hacker ref that looks a little bit like this, like the picture in the middle, which is a little bit more powerful, or I will say it's more powerful, allow you to do transmit or receive. The one here in the left, you can only receive, but also is more expensive. That one is around $300. So first thing is you need to pick the right hardware. Then the second part is you need to learn about like antennas, like you can see like the antennas have like different shapes, they have like different materials. So all of that will affect like the quality of the signal that you are getting, and even the material and the size of the antenna, right? If you want to transmit with more power, you need a bigger antenna. If you want your waves to get like more farther, you also need a bigger antenna. And also there are tricks that I learned about. You can transmit in during certain times of the day, so the signal can go into the sky and then can bounce and things like that. But that is like a more advanced tricks, like from ham radios people. And here I have some other examples of antennas. As you can see, there are of different prices, from very cheap ones that cost like $10, $12 to more expensive ones, but that they will allow you to do more interesting stuff, to transmit with more power. And a fun thing is that when I got the hacker ref, it comes with this antenna, the one that is in the bottom. So if you go and read the description of the hacker ref, it tells you that this device or that device allow you to listen from the 20 kilohertz to 6 gigahertz, but that is not completely true because this antenna allow you only to get into 1 gigahertz. So if you want to be able to listen the complete range, which is the until the 6 gigahertz, so you need to get this one, right? So this is what I'm telling you, like everything matters, like the device, the antenna, and also the capabilities of the software. And then the third step is to know which kind of software-defined radio you have to use. Most of these ones are like open source. There are other ones that they are like, they will only run on Windows and you don't have access to the source code, but most of them are pretty much the same. They are going to allow you to, especially the first one, Junior Radio Companion. This one is, I will describe it as a framework for you to learn how to manipulate like radio waves and things like that, in which you can build your own. You basically using like visual programming, you can build your own like flow, and you can do very interesting stuff. The other ones are used like pieces of software that you can using your own like SDR antennas, you can like listen what is outside, and you can, it's gonna show you in a waterfall chart what the program is detecting. Let me see if I can show you an example. So for example, so this is the SDR software, and you can, as you can see in the middle, there is what we call like the waterfall, and every color that you see is a signal. The brighter the color is, the stronger the signal. So you can like tune on different frequencies, and that way, let's say you are in a room and you start seeing a lot of these frequencies, you can see there is like someone transmitting around you, right? So most of the software looks very similar to this. Okay. But yeah, once you pick the SDR software, then you're good to go to start like like even listening to radio like music, or listening to people speaking like other ham radios, like if you tune the right frequency, you can also listen to the weather station, which was pretty fun. Another important thing that I learned is there is very interesting resources, which is the website of the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission. And in that website, if you go, for example, there is like a law in which if you want, let's say you want to create a device that communicates using radio waves, you cannot just build it and start selling it. You have to register in the government, and you need to provide all the information about which frequency the device will use to transmit and receive, and that is that they will put that in a database that everybody can read. So if you go, for example, if you grab your iPhone, you will see they have like this code here. You can just go to that website and input the code, and it's gonna give you all the information regarding like signals and radio waves. Or also, if you go to a restaurant and you get one of those pagers, you can get the code, you can put it on the website, and you can see exactly on which frequency this device will transmit or receive information. That will be very helpful, like for the next thing that I'm going to tell you. But another interesting thing to consider, and something that honestly is like a lot of information, and you can spend your whole life doing this thing, is everything matters. Like, as I was saying, the material, the quality of the material, the shape. You need to learn about signal bandwidth. You need to learn about what is the right time of the day for you to transmit, because the time will, if you are very into this, you will try to leverage even like the weather conditions, like the actual physics, for you to send your signal like further. Here I'm showing like some example what I was mentioning before. but they do like these very interesting tricks in which they can bounce the signals like in the ionosphere. So they can, like, if there is like a mountain in the middle, they cannot transmit through the mountain, but then they will transmit to the sky and it will reach the other side of the mountain. Also, you need to learn about modulations, different type of modulation, which the way I see it is way for you to encode the information in the signal. And yeah, with that said, then the most common frequencies, or let's say you have your HackerF already or your SDR, like which frequencies are you gonna start listening to, right? So as I was saying, once this technology got popularized or got popular, people has to come with agreements of this frequency is gonna be used for these things in particular, right? So they say like very, very low frequency, which is like signal that can reach very long distance. They are gonna be used for ships and radio navigation system, things like that. Then we have medium frequency, which is commonly used for AM radio and also navigation systems. Then we have high frequencies that go from 3 megahertz to 30 megahertz that is used for shortwave radio, which is can be like walkie-talkies, things like that. Then we also have the very high frequency, which is 30 megahertz to 300, which is in this range. You can find like old television that used to go into radio waves that I don't think exists anymore. But you can also listen to FM radio, right? And then we have, Wi-Fi and GPS and 4G technologies in the, they start in the 2.4 gigahertz, which is the Wi-Fi frequency. Or Wi-Fi is a range, it's technically a range, but they start in the 2.4 gigahertz. And then all the way up into satellite communications and things like that. So this is how it's distributed or is organized. Here is another table with the same information that I just mentioned, in case you want. So yeah, with your HackerF in the SDR software, you just tune that frequency, and then you are gonna start seeing signals, which most probably doesn't. If you tune them, they will not make any sense. It's just gonna be noise, but it's because you don't know how to decode the information, but there is something being transmitted in there. And with that, then the radio hacking gadgets, the most popular ones right now is like, as I was saying, HackerF, or at least HackerF is allow you to do everything that I mentioned, and you can also it allows you to, for example, HackerF allow you to transmit and receive. This is why it's like half duplex, right? Another important thing is that this piece of hardware is completely open source. So you can theoretically build your own, like you have all the information that you need. The software is also open source. You can install the current version, or you can install they have this release that is called Nightly, which is like the one that I'm testing. It allows you to listen from 30 megahertz to 6 gigahertz. So that covers pretty much the whole spectrum from, let's say, the payers to the remote control to open your car, to all the Wi-Fi, to all the 5G and things like that. It has a 20 megahertz bandwidth, which is like the range. And then at some point, I'm not sure when, but they came with this like add-on, which is basically before this, you need a computer to use the HackerF, right? So with the add-on, you don't need a computer anymore. You just put it on top of that, and it comes with software that allow you to do everything that you can do in the computer, but now you can do it like on the field. You can even put like a battery. And it has a touch screen. It has a headphone jack, so you can listen to the radio. that honestly, if you only use it like to listen to radio, it's gonna be a very expensive radio. But yeah, you can do way more. I'm gonna show you a video of things that I did with this one. So this is the because I was talking that everything is like signals. You can even like listen to certain protocol that exists that the aircrafts are sending, and they are sending basically their position in the air, right? The software already know how to decode that information, and it can show you on the screen on a map. It can show you the speed of the aircraft, the altitude, things like that. This is a plane from Ukraine. So it's pretty interesting, because without the software, like you will need to learn like about the protocol and things like that, but the software do all of that for you, right? Another interesting part is like I was talking about like the different types of attacks that are possible in radio, that everything is reduced to replays and jammings. You can totally do this with the HackerF, although it's illegal, you should not do it. But it's possible, like you only need like 2 lines of code or 2 commands. You can use capture and capture on a particular frequency and replay the same capture on a different frequency. And that's possible to do. We have another one. Let me show you this one. So this is like a replay tag. I don't know if you can listen. So it's transmitting right on that signal, and then the walkie-talkie is grabbing my signal. Yeah, same. And then with that, okay. So that's then another one that probably you already, all of you already know, is a Flipper Zero, that also has a functionality that goes into radio waves and basically NFC, and RFID and things like that, which is pretty interesting, because in order to do this with the HackerF, you will need like additional hardware or additional gadgets. But the Flipper Zero has all of this and more. So what is the Flipper Zero? Basically, it's a device that has like over 8 different other tools just packed in this tiny device. And it's getting very popular. A lot of people are using it for like physical pen testing, for, you know, instead of buying additional hardware, you just buy the Flipper Zero and you can do all of that. So let me show you a couple of examples. So, yeah, I was talking about the RFID, and that's totally possible with the Flipper Zero. You can grab like one of those small coins or chips, and you can read it, and then you can emulate it back, because the Flipper Zero has a memory, so you can clone it, and with that you can open like the door, right? Another thing that you can do is it has like a functionality for the bad USB, which is something like the rubber ducky. You can create a script, or even it's not 100% compatible with rubber ducky script, but you can just port them. You can connect it to a computer, and you can basically run the payload, right? And we'll do something in the computer. In this case, it's gonna open a notepad and start typing things like that. And probably the most, I will say, harmful job that people have been doing in the last couple of months is that they realize that you can use the Flipper Zero to open the charging port of the Teslas. And this is possible because someone basically did what I told you. Someone captured like the signal that they were using to send the signal to the Tesla to open the door, and then they recorded and then upload it to GitHub or a website, and now you can download that capture and replay it with your Flipper Zero, right? So if I go back to the table that I was showing you about like which frequencies are being used for which purpose, the Tesla listen for a signal that goes into a particular frequency and will open the charging port, right? So the Flipper Zero is transmitting over that signal and there is no authentication. One thing to notice about all these protocols or all these technologies that send and transmit signals is because they are very old. They don't implement any kind of authentication, and honestly, it's kind of difficult. What they have been doing, especially for the cars, like is implementing these techniques of rotating codes that is very similar to OTPs or one-time passwords, in which if let's say you have a car and I open the car, if I capture that signal and I replay it, it won't work because the car already registered that the signal has like a code or a signature. That code has been used already. But if I go away from the car and I get your key and I press the button and I record that signal without your car actually receiving that, I can use that. So there is a lot of tricks around, a lot of research happening on this that I will definitely take a look, and I also encourage you to take a look. But it's very interesting. And with that, we are reaching the last part, which is the community. A couple of things that helped me, at least to get like my foot in all of this and start learning more, was Discord, a couple of Discord communities and a couple of Telegram communities. Especially on Discord, they have the radio frequency hacker sanctuary, also the HackerRef Portapack Mayhem. I joined that one because I got the HackerRef, then I got more interesting. I bought the Portapack, which is the screen, the touch screen that goes on top. But I was like, what do I do with this, right? I need to get like some tutorial to see how to install it. And I started doing it myself, but then I start like, I got stuck in a couple of steps, then I joined that support. It's not like official support channel, but there is a lot of people that are willing to help you into, even I got into a call with one of them and they will guide me. Great Gadget Scott community, which is the creator of the HackerRef. And there is also like another Telegram channel for the Flipper Zero, and they are like sharing scripts and things like that, and tips and tricks. So yeah, radio hacking is still very relevant. Of course, like we saw a couple of people outside doing something with antennas. And I think it's some friends, they have been called it like the future of hacking, because at the end of the day, everything, when it's transmitted on the air, everything goes like to a signal that can be captured and can be like transmitted and can be reverse engineered or jam or replay or whatever. So it's a good, at least for me, it's a good skill that I want to develop in the next couple years. And here are the resources that I use during this presentation. As you can see, there's a lot of videos that I watch and I took notes and things like that. And especially the last one is like a lot of tutorials. So how to create your own programs to get the signals and then start doing transformations of them. And with that, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for attending, for staying until very late. If you have any questions or comments, please do it right now. Thank you.
So in your opinion, the Flipper Zero is more worth it than the HackerRef?
They are used for different things. So the Flipper Zero is more for physical pen testings, but it's not limited only to, like listening to signals. You can, let me go to the slide. It can support like even like multiple protocols. It has infrared. So with this, you can record like, for example, like a remote control, right? It has NFC, it has RFID, it has some other obscure protocols that I haven't ever used before. It has like for Bluetooth. So I will say that they are like for a different use case. I think it is cheaper than the HackerRef. This one is, well, if you can get one right now, this one was like $175 versus $300 of the HackerRef. So
And so HackRF would do more just transmitting and receiving.
yeah, HackerRef is like pure software defined radio.
Yeah. So
With that,
can
you can,
and all that stuff.
yeah, I will say that HackerRef is like a research tool, while Flipper Zero is like a complete offensive tool. Yeah.
In terms of RFID,
Mhm.
so I remember when I worked at Facebook, we had a tag and we swipe it at the door and it let us in. So have any of these companies come back with any type of defense mechanisms against?
I have read like a couple of techniques that they do to try to mitigate things like this, but I'm not very familiar with them. In the building of where my girlfriend lives, if you can, like, they give you a key, and if you want to request another one for a guest, they will charge you like $50 or something like that. So with this, we just create like a clone, and we don't have to pay that. But I don't see like because it's a clone. Like if her key got disabled, then mine will not work. So I don't know if they have a way of knowing like because I'm creating like a clone of the key. I don't know if they will have a way.
So I haven't heard about it specifically for this, but I remember one of my professors back in college find a way for credit cards where normally this no longer will use the strip, but the magnetic strip, the imperfections in that could be actually recorded. And so when cloning it, his proof of concept was it wouldn't accept clones and it would only accept the original.
The original.
So potentially, maybe there's something like that could be generated, but I don't want to.
I have some knowledge on proof of concepts that have been more secure. I don't know the details of how they're implemented, but like Amiibo, used by Nintendo, uses NFC on the bottom, and you can't just copy that or replace it. You need specific keys, cryptographic keys to copy it. Once you have those, you can copy it.
You
I
can
think
create
Flipper
your
Zero, there's a library where you can get all the amiibos.
Yeah, there is.
Post the keys
Yeah,
online.
actually, last year, right, there was a presentation on similar matter, and the thing is, like, I think the cryptographic key got leaked, and now everybody can create their own amiibos, and but yeah, you put a private key, like, too.
So if you look on our YouTube channel, I think it was August of last year. It was a full presentation on Flipper Zero. She also went up and showed something like he showed today, but she just focused more on the Flipper Zero and the different attacks she did. We obviously had a Tesla outside by the guy who's in charge here, and we opened the the charger. So that was because it was still kind of new, so not everybody at that point have seen it. So it was we were able to see it like right there. Oh my god, like and also
So can it be used to actually get entry into the car?
No, to enter the car, no.
Some cars.
So I was actually checking that, and some cars, like from previously to the 2000, doesn't have that rotating code a security mechanism, and you can copy the signal from a regular key and then replay to that key. But new cars implement the rotating codes and specifically to mitigate that. But it's a game of the cat and the mouse, because there was in DEF CON, I don't remember which one, they present some research about how they can basically they want to capture the signal of the key while they are jamming the car in order for the car not to receiving the signal. So if you are able to do that, then you can replay the key one more time, and the car will see. I haven't seen this before, so it's valid, and the car will open. So it's very interesting. Then they have been added like some security mechanism based on the delay of the signal or based on the power of the signal to try to differentiate between the actual key and someone replaying the signal. But it's not perfect. And I think it's because of the nature of how this technology works. It was in the air, like basically, like once it's in the air, you are not sure if it's coming from the original source or not.
Yeah, like you said, the hardware too, over time, the power is gonna go down anyway, so.
Yeah.
It makes it hard for them to.
Yeah, actually, that would be like one way to differentiate if, you know, like I'm trying to opening the door with the original key or with a device like this, like the power or something like that. I don't know if there is some research about that.
It's
Yeah.
just funny that it's like, you get to this point and really the more secure thing is to move back and just go back to physical.
Yeah.
physical keys.
Yeah.
Technology going backwards.
Yeah.
I have a question. I know that it's illegal to transmit on certain frequencies for these tools. I'm wondering what the legal range, if you know what the legal range of I guess from kilohertz to gigahertz.
Probably he will know more, but what I what I read is that if you don't have the license, you cannot press the transmit button. And even if you have a license, you should not transmit over, like when you get the license, or let's say you are a radio station, they assign you a particular frequency for you to do your business or whatever. And it's not legal someone trying to transmit over that particular frequency, because if that person has enough power or more, at least more power than you, it's gonna jam your signal. Like it's gonna, I think that will go into the question that you about, like, what's the range that I'm, you know, allowed to transmit. That will depend on.
They have license for transmit for every frequency. There is no such license. So ham operators, they can operate in this range, and that's it. So I don't think even with ham license you can use flipper 0 and transmit from
All that now.
from hertz to megahertz. No, it doesn't.
So if you have the license, you can transmit on this one, right? On these ones, I believe.
Yes, and it depends on ham level. There is one level you can transmit on one range, and then next level you can transmit on two of them. And but flipper 0, it's like half watt or whatever. It's 5,
Yeah.
so it's probably nobody will catch it. It doesn't go above your out of your house.
Yeah.
Probably, so.
Yeah,
it's not the issue.
I just imagine if you're playing with something like a hack RF with a bigger antenna, you want to be careful with what frequency you use.
Yeah, I think that one is more problem. The hacker ref, and then you connect a bigger antenna, probably your signal will reach more distance.
So, like the frequencies from 315 and higher, are those okay because they're higher than ham radio? No.
If you have the license, I believe you can use these frequencies, and you only need to be respectful of. You have to identify yourself when you're speaking, and you don't need to be jamming like other people's conversations and things like that.
Some of those are restricted, like the 800 megahertz. I worked in law enforcement a long time, and I know CHP is like 800 megahertz, and they said you do not.
You should not do
get in
that.
trouble,
Right?
yeah. And I think they even have a way to kind of monitor that.
Yeah, they were mentioning before this talk that there is a way for them to kind of track whoever is doing like malicious things, which like directional antennas, and also like trying to triangulate them, things like that.
And if you emulate RF remote control, right? You have device that transmit, you don't need any license.
Yeah, you can do that with the flippers.
Yeah, it's the same. And you retransmit the same the same. Yeah.
So I need a license to turn on my air conditioning.
Yeah. No, and even like one interesting thing is the Flipper Zero by default, depending of the country, certain frequencies are blocked because of the law. But you can download like a special image that will unlock all of that, all those limitations, and then you can transmit of whatever frequency you want. But as you were saying, like it's not legal sometimes to transmit of certain frequencies.
But can you monitor it?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
But when was that FCC ID? That's how one of them that like MAC addresses and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But what I'm wondering is, does Flipper Zero have an ID? No, huh? Do they give them IDs?
That's an interesting question.
Usually transmit.
It should have one, but I don't know. if
But you can
FCC
transmit on
regulates.
any frequency. That
I don't see anything on the back of it.
No.
Yeah.
You can write anything on the back. Get all my stuff right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's interesting.
So how did they get around it?
The cool thing is about when I got this one, probably yours as well, like it comes in a package that looks like a toy.
That's awesome.
Because I think they are coming from Russia, right?
You can even put it in dummy mode where it like just plays games.
Yeah, it plays games. So whoever was like, I guess in the postal office, is like, oh, this is a toy.
You know, how much it generates in 2 minutes. Like, gone, dude.
Yeah.
Now, those are hard to get now, aren't they?
Yeah,
They're difficult.
they are sold every time there is on stock. They sold in 2 minutes.
Lots.
There's business.
Yeah, being resold on Amazon.
Yeah, but yeah, you can do. I don't think I have here like what's the range that the Flipper Zero support, but in the case of the HackerF, that's this one is the range, right? 30 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, which is what you can listen and transmit with the right antenna. The Flipper Zero, I think it goes only till 1 gigahertz, which is basically this one, RF remote control card, which allow you to only operate on this spectrum. This one. So that will be also another difference between the HackerF and the Flipper Zero. But it's pretty cool because these technologies allow you to, or at least for me, like it unlock like a completely new realm of hacking that was different to what I was doing before. So
Satellite hacking.
There's a Hackathon competition.
Oh yeah. Hackathon, yeah. Yeah, see, like look at this one. Like imagine like the antenna that you need to have to reach this level. But yeah, if anybody's
So,
on
do you know like the pineapple for hacking Wi-Fi?
oh, the Wi-Fi
It kind of
pineapple.
operates similar to this.
This one, as I have one, I don't really use it too much, but I think it's only like focused on Wi-Fi, which is gonna be from
The 2.2
yeah,
to
the.
But that's not what it does operate like that, then, right? It just grabs the signal. How does
So that will be different, like Wi-Fi, like pen testing, like you have to get like the handshakes and things like that. But I will say that is like a level above, like just capturing the simple signals.
Yeah, because you want to, generally, you try to either create a rogue access point where you name it something that seems Starbucks free Wi-Fi or whatever. But, and then they'll just connect to you and then you can forward it to an actual thing you have access to. Just there. Or you can try to pretend to be an actual different, like an SSID that already exists. And you can like sort of cancel, but send a message to the computers that are connected to the actual one saying, hey, like reset request, re-authenticate with me or re-handshake. And then
Did you capture that and try to crack the handshake?
Yeah, but basically you're just trying to meet in the middle. It's not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's a place, but that's the main one I know about. From wireless.
Yeah. There is no more questions, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you